What's up guys, my name is Delta and welcome back to the Division 2. In this video, I'm going to talk about the current issues that impact the solo player experience in the Division 2. I can confidently say that every person who's played the Division 2 has been a solo player at one point. A large chunk of the player base plays all by themselves, either by preference or because they don't have buddies to jump on and play with at all times. The Division 2 is a mainly cooperative game, meaning that there are some activities that you really need others to complete. This is an issue that I feel isn't really discussed a whole lot, and you rarely hear a lot about it. This is interesting because there's still a large amount of people in the community who haven't even completed the Dark Hours raid, let alone the Iron Horse raid. I would characterize myself as a solo player, but I also have some friends who are max level and play all the time that I can jump on with. So I will do my best to represent both sides of the argument here. The logistics of finding 7 other friends who are willing to get on at the same time and do a run of Operation Iron Horse feels like a monumental task at times. There are people in the community who will not step foot in the Dark Zone because they don't want to take the risk of being ganked by a 4-man group while they're solo. I believe that when you have a group of friends who are down to play the game and feel similarly, that is the moment when the Division 2 feels the best. That being said, you can complete about 90% of the Division 2 as a solo player or through matchmaking. For all of that stuff, you can get most of the best gear in the game essentially by yourself. 90% of the game does not require a pre-made group or fire team to complete, although having that might expedite the process significantly. One of the best social features added to the Division, and it's been there from the start, is the ability to share items that you have duplicates of or just anything with people who don't have it. I can proudly admit that a lot of the stuff that I have in the Division 2 is because a lot of my friends have just dropped it for me and given it to me. Because it didn't drop for me, but these people had duplicates, so they're like, here you go, it's all yours. I'm very grateful for that, but I realize that a lot of people don't have that. And additionally, there's a lot of solo players who will not engage with certain types of content, either because they don't have the buddies to jump on with, or unwilling to try LFG, or just don't have the time. And that's a little sad, because many of those players in the community will never get the satisfaction of opening the chest at the end of the Dark Hours raid and finally receive the Eagle Bearer, which to this day remains one of the best Division assault rifles and definitely one of the coolest. So to that end, what are the common struggles of the solo player experience within the Division 2? What's the experience like now? In this video I want to discuss these, and I want to talk about a few things that could be fixed going forward in Year 4 and beyond. So what can you not get as a Division 2 solo player at this current moment? And what's more is, what kind of content can you not do as a solo player? Well, first of all, you can complete both raids within the Division 2 as a solo player, thanks to the Discovery mode. The Discovery mode for both raids actually allows solo players to matchmake into a raid group, but for some reason Massive made the design choice to not allow the raid exotics to drop from the Discovery mode raids. So you have to imagine that matchmaking for a raid in Massive's eyes cheapens the experience somehow, which as a solo player I really do not agree with. But that's besides the point. So while you can get raid gear from the Discovery mode raids, you cannot get raid exotics. Other things you cannot get as a solo player include anything that drops specifically from legendary difficulty, such as the Bighorn exotic assault rifle. I am aware you do not need a group to do legendary difficulty. I'm just saying it's very, very difficult for new and solo players. But besides legendary and raid specific gear and weapons, I would say solo players have a wide array of content to choose from and experience by themselves. You can make the argument that the Dark Zone is much more difficult as a solo player, so for now I will throw that in there, as well as Dark Zone specific gear and weapons. So this is interesting, right? As a solo player, you cannot necessarily get everything that you paid for as a Division player. So much of the Division's experience is wrapped up and sold as part of the Dark Hours raid, or the experience and the feeling that you get after finishing that raid. And part of that is getting the most coolest exotic assault rifle in the game as a reward for putting in that effort and grinding to that level and achieving the satisfaction of seeing the rewards for your efforts. I want to pivot here and just kind of highlight a few of the things that Massive really has done well to bolster and improve the solo player experience within the Division 2. The inclusion of the Discovery mode for both raids allows new and solo players to kind of learn, and when you see an LFG group and it says KWTD, they KWTD basically. And I do think there's a little inherent toxicity in the KWTD mention, I guess people who do LFGs, they kind of want a smooth run, they already know what they're doing, they don't really have time to teach people. That's alright. But for a solo player or a new player, everyone should be given the opportunity to learn. My advice for solo players who want to get the Eagle Bearer, the Ravenous, whatever raid exotic you want, whatever legendary thing you want, would be to use the discovery mode to teach yourself and learn the mechanics of the raid. You can still gear up just fine as a solo player, very easily actually, especially with the implementation of the new countdown mode, where named items are given out kind of like candy, especially if you're able to take down a hunter. I say this because there is a difference between being carried and being taught how to do a raid. Being carried implies that you bring no value to the raid group. I wouldn't say someone who's being carried brings no value. I would just say that they bring minimal value. Let's say, for example, you get into a raid group and you can tell the people in the group, hey, I've got a spotter build and I'm using vigilance or something like that. You may not know the mechanics, but you'll be able and ready to contribute. And even that alone is infinitely more valuable than just kind of expecting people to take you through it. So to that point, as a solo player, you should kind of do your research, you know, like finding out what mods and what talents are good this season. Like for season 9 right now, it's Pulse, but who knows what it's going to be next time. It's going to change and the DPS will change, everything will change with it. Being more confident and more prepared in your ability as a player will definitely help mitigate that general social anxiety and, you know, that feeling of not wanting to step out of your comfort zone and join that LFG group. And it's important to know that wipes are going to happen. Mistakes are going to happen. No one is ever going to get through a run of the Dark Hours raid perfectly and not die or anything like that, you know? But it's all about putting yourself in the best opportunities to succeed. And in my experience, most people in the Division community are not really going to tear you down for not knowing what to do. It's more about building you up. If you're having trouble gearing up as a solo player, there's a lot of good features that you can do as a solo player and you can utilize as a solo player that can help you out in terms of maybe finding new friends. You can use the call for backup feature when you die in a certain area, or maybe just talking to people when you matchmake into their group. And there are plenty of community discords that are active for all platforms who are willing to do raid carries or just play in general. A couple notable ones are GC Rock, especially. He runs a great community server that's focused on helping the community complete raids and get people the Eagle Bearer. This one is a little shameless as I also have my own community Discord, even though it's quite small at the moment, but I'm trying to build it up. So hopefully we can get some new faces in there and people will start getting some raid exotics and, you know, getting the gear, everything like that. There's a ton of people who are interested in getting the raid exotics and, you know, finishing the raid for the first time, which is one of the biggest reasons I'm making this video. There's a ton of tutorials out there about how to get, you know, good loot so you can get raid ready or PvP builds, stuff like that. All sorts of stuff. But just to reiterate, do your research about what's good this season so you can be prepared in a raid group or so you can be ready for a PvP encounter. Learn the raid mechanics or learn what works well in PvP. Everybody was new at one point. Everyone has played solo at one point or another. It's not a mark of shame and it's not a badge of honor. It's just what people are deciding to do with their time. But thank you guys for listening to me and I hope you guys found this enjoyable or maybe you guys found it informative. That was the goal. But again, I appreciate everyone who watches and takes the time to watch my content. I really appreciate you guys. Discord link is in the description. I'll be back with more content soon. But everyone, have a good day. Be kind to each other. You don't always have to know what to do. And that's all right. But yeah, guys, Deltah out. Peace.